Welcome, everybody, to the Retire with Confidence podcast. Today, we are thrilled to have Bill Oesterle and Laurie Phillips from Room at the Inn with us. Thank you for joining us, Bill and Laurie.
Thanks for having us.
You.
Absolutely. So, Bill is the board chair, and Laurie is the acting executive director. And wanted to have them on today because we talk a fair amount about charitable giving on this podcast and with our clients. And we also talk about wanting to do that with some tax advantages and being smart about how we are giving. So this fits very well. So before we get into all the tax credits and strategy and all that, Bill and Laurie, would you please tell us a little bit about Room at the Inn, what it is, how you're helping people, the background, the history, all that?
Sure. So, Room at the Inn is a homeless shelter for families in Bridgeton, Missouri. And I got involved around 2009 as a night site coordinator at St. Joseph Church, where actually we go, Dave, and
Mm-hmm.
you and I. And it was very interesting how I got involved with it. But uh, starting off as a night site coordinator, at that time, Room at the Inn was just a day center.
Hmm.
So every night, our clients would go out to over 50 different interfaith congregations throughout St. Louis and the surrounding metro area. So, as we did, we had the fourth Saturday. We'd actually go pick up our clients on every fourth Saturday, bring them back and give them hospitality, feed them, a place to sleep. And then the next morning, we give them breakfast, and then they would come back to the day site. So that was the model with 50 different congregations throughout the entire year, how that
Wow.
would operate. So it was
Wow.
quite amazing how it operated as a shelter. Um, and we knew at that time that it was very stressful on the clients because they're already in distress. So basically, the board knew that there was going to be some changes needed. And over time, I was invited on the volunteer committee. And then from there, I got invited on the board. And then obviously from there, I'm the chairman of the board now. So that was over those years. But the thing is that COVID changed that immediately. So none of the night sites could operate, could not bring anybody in. So we immediately became a 24/7 shelter.
Wow.
And it was quite an event, but I tell you, we have the most wonderful staff to take care of our clients that also do all the programming and everything. And they just turned that around immediately and made room for them in offices space and things like that. So I will have to give them many kudos on how they take care of our clients and made that work. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it to Laurie
I,
entertain a little bit more about that.
yeah, I can tell
Sure.
you a little bit about how the programming works here. So, Room at the Inn started 30 years ago, not in this location, but we've been here for about 20. Like Bill said, we are an interfaith organization, and so we have a lot of congregational support. We also had a lot of grant support and individual support, financial and otherwise. But we have a really small staff, so we have about 14 people total who work for us. About half of us are full-time staff. And the programming that we provide is not only shelter for families with children, we also do housing searches. We do work with case management, which means we help people get the the physical health care or mental health care they need. We contract with providers to do that on site and then also send folks off site into the community. We help people find employment and job training opportunities, and we do all kinds of life skills training. How to use a computer for a job search or a housing search. We help with tutoring for children. We have a preschool room where we have volunteers come in and read to our kids and play games with our kids. We have a teen nook for when the older kids want to be away from their little siblings, right? And they wanted some time to just play a video game or watch TV. And then we have space for the parents to just, you know, relax a little bit. Their lives are chaotic, and our staff is here to support them. And we want them to feel welcome and comfortable and know that they're going to be taken care of while they're with us.
Nice. Nice. That's fantastic. Now, how do they wind up with you? I guess is there an outreach or are people searching for you? What's the dynamic there? How do they come to you for help?
So in St. Louis, both city and county, sort of regionally, there are these kind of groups of providers, and they manage sort of the needs of the community. So 211 from the United Way will take calls from people who need shelter. So we get referrals from them. We also get referrals from something called coordinated entry, which I won't get into because it's a big HUD thing. But anyway, so we have two those two methods of referral. We're not a walk-up shelter. So if you find yourself without housing and you come to our front door, we unfortunately can't take you in as a full client right then because we need to go through a little bit of a process. But those referral systems work relatively well, and then clients can stay with us really as long as they need to until they can find housing and get back on their feet.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what's the facility like? How many people are you able to help, or how many families are able to get help at this time?
So we have 8 client sleeping rooms, and like Bill said, that's new to us since the pandemic. And so we can have about 20 or 22 people total. That would include parents with children, just based on our
Sure.
accommodation.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, I guess, what's the process? You have a ton of services that you're offering here. Is there a timeline or a rough estimate of, hey, we will bring you in and then we help you and then you're kind of out on your own, or is that flexible, or what? I guess, is there a structure to it? What is it?
There is a structure to it. So kind of in the industry of homeless services, the shelter time is usually on or about 30 days. However, that is lengthened or shortened depending on the need of the client and the family. And so our length of stay runs over that. Many shelters run well over that as well. But during that time, once the client becomes a client of ours and does an intake with our case management staff, they set goals and they set timelines to achieve those goals. And so they meet daily with their case manager to make sure that they are working towards goals. If they need to change those goals for some reason, they can change those goals, adjust those dates, and work with our case management team to get all of the supports they need, either in the building or in the community, to make their transition to permanent housing successful.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you got a great staff doing all of this. Is it mostly full time, some part time, some volunteers? Is it a big mix in that
It is a
sense of
big
what?
it is a big mix. I mean, we have about 6 or 7 full-time staff, and then we have part-time staff, and we have a lot of volunteers who come in and help clients, especially the kids. Volunteers love to come and hang out with the kids, tutor the kids, read books to the kids. We have volunteers who will bring meals for our clients. So I think Monday night is taco night. There's a congregation bringing a taco bar in. And so we had a lot of food over the Thanksgiving holiday for the whole weekend. Um,
Sure.
and then we have volunteers like Bill who help us with our governance and our operations.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we even have a nurse that comes in once a week. So we have a nurse's office here that takes care of any needs, whether they need shots or any type of, nursing needs that are available. She can take care of that every week.
That's great. Now, if people want to volunteer, how do they do that? Do they just go to the website and reach out to you there? Is that expected to be the process?
Yeah, we have a really great website that they can go and see some of the opportunities. Our volunteer coordinator's name is Cindy Warren. Her number and information is listed on our website, and she can kind of run through the gamut of activities. If you're interested in kind of a one-time activity, like we had a trunk or treat in our parking lot for Halloween, so we had a lot of people who come and that's their thing to do with us. And so they decorate their cars, and our clients and families come out and get candy from them. We've got folks who come in and we're going to have some Christmas cookie baking later this month, and ornament making and things like that. So if a one-time thing is what you want, we've got that. If you want to come every Tuesday and do something, or every Tuesday and Thursday and do something, you can do that too. So we're really open to anybody who wants to provide support and compassion to our clients.
Awesome. That's great. And by the way, we have the links to the website in the chat feature as well. So if you're listening to a recording, we're actually doing this live with an audience. So we have that in the chat function, and we'll have this in the show notes as well. That way, anybody who wants to get to the website, it's just www.roomstl.org. So it's pretty easy to remember, pretty easy to get to. But that link is there in the chat, and we'll have it in the show notes. So if you want to volunteer and learn more about it, it'll all be out there for you. Now let's, I guess, can we shift to donations? Like we talked about volunteers and giving time. Where do you get the funding to do all of this, and how do people donate? Take us through that process. I assume it's kind of a combination of some large organizations donating along with some kind of more traditional individuals donating. How does that all work?
Yeah, we actually have a quite diverse uh, base of where we get our funds from. I will say a lot of our funds do come from grants, whether it's HUD or the COC, which is St. Louis County and St. Louis City in coordination. And Laurie can explain that more than me. But we do have definitely donors that, in this time of year, obviously a lot of organizations are doing their year-end appeal. So it's definitely a good time for us that we send out our appeal. But through our congregations, like I said, we had 50 different, 50 plus different interfaith congregations. So there's a lot of people within those congregations that support us, whether it's financially, uh, donating time or, as we stated, as far as different games we do or food, just a lot of and we have the basic needs too of just paper needs and things like that, cleaning supplies, just your basic needs like that. We have a lot of people that help support us in that. So I think Laurie can probably indulge into more of the detail of the different aspects of the funding.
So,
Sure.
as an executive director in a nonprofit, and really any person with good business sense, but especially a nonprofit, you don't want to have all your eggs in one funding basket, right?
Yes.
So, Room has a really good mix of funding. We do have government funding, like Bill said, from multiple different government sources. So it's not all from one entity. It's not all from HUD, or it's not all from St. Louis County. It's from multiple different sources. Those are some of our larger grant programs because they really support our staff and the support services we provide. We have a lot of local charitable foundations and family foundations that support us, and they do that on an ongoing basis. So they've been connected to Room for a long time. We get excuse me, a similar gift from them every year. And then, like Bill said, we have the congregational support. Sometimes that's financial, but often our connections to the people in those congregations are what really bring our individual contributions. It's actually a really fun time of the year because it's the end of the year. So a lot of people are making their year end gifts, and other nonprofits are probably having as much fun as we are when we open the mail. We're like, yeah, it's a big check in the mail. So I'm really proud of the way Room has their revenue sources set up so that we're not too reliant on one particular source. And people do know a lot about the good work that we do. We often say we're the hidden gem of St. Louis County. So we're a small shelter. We've been here a long time, and sometimes people are like, "Who are you again? What do you do?" So having an opportunity like this, Dave, is really important for people to kind of know who we are, where we are, and what we're doing here.
Absolutely. Well, it's important work. I mean, it's just homelessness is a big problem, and especially for families that just are having a difficult time. It's great to be able to house them, help them get back on their feet. It's just fantastic work. So when when you talk about individuals donating, for example, you mentioned checks in the mail. Is that typically what happens, or do people do it online through the website? What's that look like?
You can do it really any way. We have online donations. You can do a recurring donation if that makes most sense for you as a donor and your family. We have people who do write us checks, year end, especially at year end. And I know we'll get into tax credits, but for tax
Yeah,
credits, we need to get that donation made directly to the organization. We also have the ability to receive appreciated stock transfers,
great.
and so donations can come in that way.
Yeah, and that's a very big deal to be able to take in stock because on this podcast we've talked about this before, so we have other episodes. So we won't go into the details, but effectively, you donate stock, you don't have to pay capital gains tax, and you get the charitable donation. So it's a really big deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So talk about the tax credits a bit because you can essentially layer that on there. So you donate stock, you avoid capital gains, you get charitable donation. But now with the state of Missouri, you actually get a tax credit. But there's a little bit of a process to do it. So can you tell people what is the tax credit? What does it look like? What's the process?
Yep. So Room at the Inn is a recipient of Missouri State tax credits for domestic violence and rape crisis. And so the state of Missouri has a lot of benevolent tax credits that range in percentage of credit, right? So we are incredibly fortunate that ours are 70% of your Missouri tax liability, which is the highest I've seen. I know there are other tax credit programs that are at that level, but a lot of them are at 30% or 40%. So this is a really great tax credit program. What happens for the donor is the donor makes a donation to Room at the Inn, either through a check, cash donation, or through a gift of appreciated stock, and then let us know that they would like to utilize the tax credits. We then send a form to the donor. The donor fills out the form. It needs to come back to us so that we can submit it to the state of Missouri, and then the state of Missouri will send the donor their tax credit letter.
Great.
So the way our tax credits work, I think the you can use up to $25,000 per year in credit. So
Okay.
if you would donate more than that and get, let's say, a $50,000 tax credit, you can use 25 in the first year and 25 in the second year. So it's not limited to the year of donation. You get an extra year to be able to use that credit if the credit exceeds your liability.
Great. But it's just one extra year. It's not, you
Right.
can't do 100,000.
Drag it out. Right.
Totally understood. Totally understood. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it really is a great tax credit. I don't know that everybody's aware of that that's even out there. I know some people are that say, oh, yeah, we do this organization every single year, we get this tax credit. But to know that if you donate $1,000, that effectively the state of Missouri is paying for 700 of it because you're going to get 70% back on your tax return when you file. That's just a huge opportunity. It just really allows for even greater donations because if you had a set amount in mind that you were going to donate, well, maybe you could even donate more knowing that you're going to get this huge tax credit back. So that's a big, big deal.
Yeah, and our tax credits are available to anyone who donates $100 or more. So you don't have to be a major donor to be able to use the benefit of the tax credit.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah,
getting $70 back if you do a $100 donation then
Yeah.
on your
yeah.
Missouri tax return.
And so that actually went up as July, I believe it was July 2022. So it used to be 50%. So it did increase back in July of 22.
Great, great. Like you said, it has to be cash or donated stock, essentially. Those are the two
Yeah.
things that people can do.
Yeah, it can't come out of a donor advised fund because that tax credit, that benefit has already been received by moving that into the donor advised fund or another foundational fund like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was going to be my next question
Yeah.
and comment as well. Is that a lot of people do use donor advised funds in their great vehicles because you get that tax deduction whenever you move the money to a donor advised fund. But you are correct; it is there in its own separate legal entity. That essentially, that donor advised fund is. So, if the donor advised fund is making the donation, it's not going to come back to you on your personal tax return. You can still donate; you just won't get that Missouri tax credit like you would sending
And
the
I
money
think
out from
And I
personal one.
think for a lot of donors, Dave, you can make that decision. If you do have a donor advised fund, you can say, am I going to get more tax benefit if I go through my fund, or am I going to get more tax benefit if I use a tax credit or a direct donation to an organization?
Yeah,
With 70%, that's a
yeah,
decision, right? That's often a decision to make.
yeah. And it's probably a pretty easy one in most cases. Probably not all cases, but I think for most people, getting 70% back just as a credit is probably going to be the better choice in terms of donation dollars, but not in every situation, but probably most.
Yeah. As long as you have Missouri state tax liability,
Of
right?
course, yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Well,
Well, this is great. Is there
it
anything
is
else
good.
on the tax credit we should be thinking about, Bill?
Oh, just the other thing was that it's available to corporations too. So it's not just to individuals. That's another thing to make sure people understand that you don't have to be just an individual to get it, to utilize that tax credit.
Yeah, that's a fantastic clarification. Do you know if it matters what type of corporation? Is it C Corp, S Corp? Does it matter at all? Or is it just C Corps specifically? And if you don't know, that's fine, but I was just curious.
I believe it's actually S Corp also, from
Great.
what I read. And
Awesome.
actually, the link to that website where the
Hmm.
tax credit information, I do believe you have that on the website. So that actually does clarify it very well at that
Good.
website.
Great.
Um, I am not a accountant by
Oh,
any means.
no,
You
it's okay.
and Laurie are, so
No,
In
at
my
least,
former life, when I wasn't a nonprofit person, I spent a lot of time being an accountant.
yeah, no, that's great. It's these things do get really technical, but it's great to bring up that corporations can do that as well. And we do have the link in the chat, and we'll have that in the show notes as well. That just goes directly to the state of Missouri on the tax credits themselves. So if you have questions or concerns, we can go see that link. But that's fantastic to know that yes, it could be individuals, it could be corporations. The money can come from a lot of different places, just not a donor advised fund to get the tax credit.
Yeah, and
yep.
if anybody's interested in tax credits with us or any other organization, just call the organization. There's somebody there who's going to be the expert in tax credits, and they'll be able to talk to any donor and kind of explain the process and see if it makes sense for the donor.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Very good point. Well, good. So, as we're thinking about um, how people can help, we've talked about donations, we talked about volunteering. Is there any other way that people can either spread the word about Room at the Inn or just help publicize it, or is there anything else that people can do to be helping?
Well, I think anybody who wants to speak on our behalf in the community and talk about the great work we're doing would be incredibly welcomed, right? Like we said earlier, we're kind of a hidden gem in St. Louis County. My experience in homeless services is mostly in St. Louis City, so there are a lot more providers and support systems in the city than the county. So I
Really?
think the work that yeah, a lot more.
Yeah.
So I think that the work we do here is incredibly important for the folks in our surrounding area, and who who live in the county today and who want to continue to live in the county when they regain permanent housing. So I think that's really important. I think one of the cool things about Room Two, and is related to the pandemic. So because we were a day site, and then we had to immediately shift to be a night site, we got support from the city of Bridgeton and the St. Louis County Council nearly immediately. So our former executive director, David Weber, who passed away over the summer, was really instrumental in building those relationships and ensuring that that switch could happen without any hiccups or any, you know, issues with St. Louis County or with the city of Bridgeton. And that's made our work here a lot easier. I know from my past experience, it's not always that easy. And so I give our municipality and the county a lot of credit for recognizing our value and allowing us to make that shift and then allowing us to continue to operate that way, even though the pandemic isn't as rampant as it was, even though people are still dying from it, but from COVID. So I think that's a really important point about this organization is that we have that full community support, and that is critical when you're doing this kind of work.
Yeah, and I will have to give kudos out because I've been around long enough that Mayor Briggs in the city of Bridgeton has just supported us hands down from every time. Every time we've had a need and gone to him, he's helped us out, and it's just been a wonderful relationship that we continue with the city of Bridgeton. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is that a donation to Room at the Inn is going to stay right here. We are not a national organization. Your money, it's not going to go to some national, you may end up in another city or something like that. Everything stays right here in Bridgeton. Everything we do, it's right here. So, and we are audited every year. So you can rest assured that everything is in order with Room at the Inn. Um, and that's one thing we're very proud of. We're very proud of that we handle our funds correctly. And we're very proud of our staff. I will say too, one thing I did want to mention is some of our staff, like Angie, she's been with us over 20, almost 25 years, I believe.
Wow.
So that says a lot right there.
Hmm.
And then we have others that have been 10, 15 years. So our staff are involved with this. They love it, they breathe it, they live it, and they love doing what they do. And that's what makes Room at the Inn so very critical to our clients.
Sure. And
And I
those are
think
some great
to
points in
Bill's
terms of
point
community
about
involvement.
longevity too,
Yeah.
I mean, Bill's been involved since 2009. I came in sort of a side door in 2019 and did some consulting work for Room at the Inn and knew the staff. And so then in this whole process of transition with David's passing, I was fortunate to know Bill and be able to come back. So it's a draw for me. And I think once people get in the door, they see how special it is, and it becomes something that becomes part of their life.
Yeah, that's fantastic to have that longevity and that sense of community internally with the staff, but then also like, externally with the county. And it's just that's absolutely wonderful to have that support and to be able to transition as quickly as you both did to being an overnight facility, which that couldn't have been easy to just flip that switch and all of a sudden go overnight.
Well, and that part of that is, obviously we did a lot, but a lot of the volunteers helped us to make that happen also, like turning in offices into bedrooms. So
Mhm.
every bedroom that we have now has a TV, has beds. We didn't have beds here prior to COVID.
Yes,
So that we had mattresses that in case they had to stay here for maybe like a snow in or something that would happen, but we didn't have beds. So I mean, we have beds, we have bunk beds, we have everything. I mean, it's not exact. We're still working on things, but considering where we were, it's amazing because our clients have bedrooms now. So
sure.
it's a wonderful thing, and definitely kudos to our staff and our volunteers. Cindy Warren. I mean, if we need something, she goes out and gets it through our volunteers. She is just very good with reaching out to the people that know our needs, or maybe they don't know our needs, and once they find out, they want to fill that for
Yeah, that's wonderful.
We do have a wish list too. So to Bill's point about different things that we need, the other day one of our staff came in and said, "I need some gift cards because we're out of body wash and lotion." So we had to go get that. So we often put out calls for specific things. One of the things we like to ask for when we have clients with young children is pack and place, right? They're not all that expensive. People, if they're going to Target or Walmart anyway, they might pick one up and drop one off. That's incredibly helpful for us as we have people staying with us overnight.
Is there a place where people can find the wish list, or is that more just calling in and finding out what is on the list?
It's on our website. And,
Great.
and Cindy updates that periodically when we have special needs or things are running low. She'll make sure she gets that updated.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So another reason for people to go check out the website because that is an easy way to get involved, right? Like you said, if you're running a Target or wherever and you just need to grab something and drop it off, that's a very easy way to volunteer and get involved. So that's wonderful.
We have a lot of donors who will just Amazon wish list us stuff,
Mm,
right? So they'll just order from somewhere and have it shipped directly to us, which is awesome. It's
that's
it is
brilliant.
like it's like, ooh, what did we get today?
Well, hopefully you'll have Amazon boxes piled up outside your door one day with just a whole bunch of stuff. So now that people are aware, that's great.
Yep.
us. Yeah,
Awesome.
that would be awesome. That's for sure. We talking about too, people donating about this time of year. We
Hmm.
have people that, you talk about they can just send a check or they can go online. We have people that actually want to come in and physically see us and hand us a check. And that's what's really powerful, um, because we know that they want to see and be here and even talk to our clients. I mean, that's important because they want to know that they're reaching out to help these people.
Right. And like you said, the money stays here. It's not getting lost. There's administrative expenses, but there's not getting lost in some huge amount of administration or some other, huge national non-for-profit. Now, those are bad necessarily, but if you want
Yeah.
to know that your money's staying right here and helping people directly in your community, that's wonderful. And like you said, come up and see it, see it firsthand, and drop off the check that way.
Yeah, we are always open for tours, though. I mean, if somebody wants to come up and see what we do and how we operate, we are always open to that. Obviously, we want you to call ahead to make sure we have the proper staff available to help them to tour it. I would even come and give you a tour if you need to. That's as long as
Yeah,
my schedule, because I am not a paid staff. I'm
But
not paid at all.
it's like he's a paid staff. He works like a paid staff.
I bet.
I am here quite a bit, so it's my pleasure though. And I it's stating that 2009, when I first started doing this, never in my wildest dreams did I ever feel that I would be the chairman of the board. First off, it's the first board I've ever been on, and now I'm the chairman of the board. So it's been a pleasure, a wonderful ride for me, and I have years to come yet because I'm not giving up. I love it and cherish every bit that we do here.
Great, great. Well, it sounds like you guys are doing great things. So I appreciate everything you're doing in the community, and I appreciate you being with us today. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we wrap up here?
Just thank you to the entire community for the support that you provide to Room at the Inn or other organizations who do charitable work in the St. Louis region. We could not survive without our financial and volunteer support. And so I just want to say thank you. Happy holidays to everybody if you're celebrating a holiday at this time of the year. And like Bill said, if you want to come see us and find out what we do, give us a call.
Hey, fantastic.
Thank you, Dave, for sharing this time with us. It's important, and we're very appreciative of that.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to. It's a great cause, and I think it's a good education for people to learn about it. And we even talked about tax credits, which is more education for people. So I think everybody learned a lot today, and I look forward to sharing this even more.
Great. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Bill,
Dave.
Laurie,
Thanks,
thank
Dave.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, take